Hi, and in this video we're going to talk about non-calculated division using the bus stop method. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you every scenario in this video that you can encounter when dealing with the bus stop method and non-calculated division. So let's just start by putting a problem up on the board. So we're going to do 96 divided by 3. So the first thing that you have to do when you're dealing with non-calculated division is you need to make sure the number that appears first goes inside the bus stop. So we're just going to draw a bus stop, which looks like that. And we're going to put the 96 here. This number that appears second, that's the one that goes on the outside, okay? So we're going to put that there like that. So we then ask ourselves, I want to make groups of 3, okay? And I have 9. So how many times can you make a group of 3 with 9? Now, this is the part that people often get round the wrong way. So it looks like this. We've got 9, and I'm going to put them in groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can see we have 3 groups of 3, and that's why it's 3. Now, that helps you visualize it, but I wouldn't recommend necessarily drawing the lines all the time. Okay, what I would recommend you do is this, okay? So do the times table that's on the outside. So here we're going to do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I think that would be okay. And you can see this is just groups of 3. So we're looking at this number, and as you can see, 1, 2, 3, there's 3 groups of 3. We move to the second number. So we've got 6. How many times can you make a group of 3 with 6? Well, it's just 2 because there's 2 numbers there. So the answer to the first one here is 32. So I'm hoping that one's quite straightforward. And again, it's just taking it step by step. It's not looking at 96 as 96. It's looking at it in terms of 2 separate digits. So let's do a more complex example. And one of the scenarios that you might have is carrying numbers across. Now, again, this is another part of the bus stop method that people really struggle with. So we're going to have 222, and we're going to divide it by 6. So again, same method as before. We're going to draw, okay, the bus stop, and we're going to put this number, all right, inside the bus stop. Now, this number, again, is going to go on the outside. So as a rule of thumb, if you really do struggle with something like this, I strongly recommend just to do some of the times tables here, okay? So I'm just going to do some of the 6 times tables. So let's just go 18, 24. Now, if you really struggle at this point, you're thinking, I'm not sure what the next one is, just count on 6. So 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All right, so we're not asking you to remember, it's just as long as you can count every time like that. So that should be fine for this example. Now let's go to the first number here. I want to make groups of 6, but I've only got 2. So because I cannot make a group of 6, what I do is I end up cutting the number and moving it across. So this part here, it now becomes 22. So we can come to the numbers now and see, right, where does 22, is it one of those numbers or is it in between? And you can see 22 would fall in between these 2 numbers here. So because it falls in between those numbers here, we just count the numbers on the top of the line. So here we've got 1, 2, 3. So what that means is we can make 3 whole groups of 6, but we're going to have some left over. So we've used 18, but we had 22 to start with. So you can come up here and do that. And what you're left with should be 4, all right? You can do that, or you can count on. So you could have done 19, 20, 21, and 22. Either way, you get the 4. So again, we just put what's left over above this next number. So the best thing to think of when you're doing the bus stop, if you don't use it, move it. So because we haven't used that 4, we move it. And now we just do the same for 42. So again, we're just going to extend the 6 times table. So again, we're going to need the next one, which is 36, and then 42. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So the answer, let me just rub that bit out, to 222 divided by 6 equals 42. All right. Let's get a little bit more tricky, because now people get really frightened when it comes to decimals. All right, giving decimal answers and working with decimals. So we're going to do two more, and these ones are going to give us both a decimal answer, and one of them is going to work with a decimal. So let's look at this one here, okay? So again, the thing with maths is once you've got a process down, it's the same process. So again, we've got 362, and we're going to divide it by 8. So the same process, we put the 362 inside the bus stop, we put the 8 on the outside. So what's really important now is we're looking at this 8 and we're going to do, right, the times table. I strongly recommend, okay, writing your times table in a column, all right? Now, we're not asking you to remember all of your times tables, but just going through the motions, counting on 8 every time and going like that. So we ask ourselves, can I make a group of 8 with 3? I can't. So because I haven't used it, I move it. So it becomes 36. Then we ask ourselves, right, how many times does 36 go in? Can you get groups of 8 with 36? So if we look here, 36 falls between this point here. So above my line, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. And then I ask myself, right, what's left? So I had 36. I've used 32. So I'm left with 4. And again, because I haven't used it, I move it. So that becomes 42. Right, how many groups of 8 can you make in 42? Well, 42 goes between this point. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've got some left over. So when you're at this point, we're going to have a decimal point. All right, so when you're at the end of the bus stop and you've still got some left over, so we had 42, but we've used 40, so I've got the 2 left over. So because I've still got 2 left over, you could say it's 45 remainder 2. But we want to give that remainder 2 an actual value, so we're going to do it as a decimal. So the best way to do that is, again, put the decimal point in. Now, add a 0, and then just carry. So here, I'm just going to put my 2 over it, so it becomes 20. And we just repeat the process. Now, sometimes this might not stop, it might continue. Other times, we might get a definitive answer. So I encourage you just to do a couple, and then if it repeats itself, stop. But if it doesn't repeat itself, keep going. So for this one here, 8's into 20. Well, 20 goes between these two numbers. So we've got 1, 2. Now, I had 20, but I've used 16. That means I've got 4 left. And as you can see, 8's into 40 goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're left with 25. So your answer is 45.25. It's just really important that when you get to the end and you've done the decimal point, just add zeros and carry on. We're going to do one more now, because people really struggle when it comes to just flat out dividing decimals, but actually it's relatively straightforward because they've given you the decimal already. They've given you the position already. So the last one we're going to do is 0.23 divided by 4. And again, it's the same process. We draw a bus stop and we do the 0.23 on the inside because it's the number here. And we do 4 on the outside, just like that. And again, if it helps, there's nothing wrong with doing the times table on the side. There is nothing wrong with that. So, to start with, if you have a decimal already in the bus stop, just bring the decimal point into the same position on the outside. Right, I want to make groups of 4, but I've got nothing, so that's just going to be nothing. I want to make groups of 4, but I've only got 2. So, because there's not a 2 here, I can't use it, so I move it. So again, if you can't use it, you move it. Right, 4 into 23. So 23 goes between these 2 points. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So got 5 there. But we've still got some left over because I had 23, but I've used 20. So we've got that 3 left over. I don't put a decimal point here now because I've already got a decimal point. So I just add the 0. And now we're going to do 30. So you can see it's going to fall between those 2 points there. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, I had 30, but I've used 28, so that's 2 left. So again, I'll just do it again. And you can see there's 20, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your answer to 0.23 divided by 4 equals 0.0575.